Look at how nice this cover is. They wasted such a nice cover on such a mediocre book. That's such an unfair way to start this review. Like, it's not that I hate it, because I don't, but I also don't like it. We'll get to that in a second. So anyway, after saving the world from impending doom, Harry goes back home to absolutely no love from his stepfamily. And apparently no love from his friends either, because none of them have sent him any letters, and none of them have replied to him, none of them has said anything, and it got to the point where Harry believes that what happened last year was just a dream. One day, Uncle Vernon has guests over for some drill business. I don't know, but Harry can't make any noise or exist whatsoever, and so he has to stay in his room. Over there, he meets Dobby, a house elf who's trying to keep him from going back to Hogwarts. So the two of them keep fighting and arguing until eventually Dobby realizes that Harry will never actually listen. What he does is, he gets Harry into a shit ton of trouble to try to get him to be forced to stay. They board up his windows and whatnot, and then eventually Ron realizes that there must be a problem. He brings out his two twin brothers and they go and bust Harry out. So Harry stays at Ron's house for a little while until eventually they get their books and go to school, where, of course, weird things start happening. Getting to school was a mess because when they went through platform 9 3/4, it turned to a brick wall and they slammed. What ended up happening was they took the flying car from earlier in the book and they flew to Hogwarts, crashing into a willow tree. What they thought was they were just too late, but it turned out later that they were actually wrong about that. So obviously weird stuff starts happening at the school. Harry gets framed for murder, this bludger tries to kill him and he loses his arm, etc. So the murder part is actually really important. It wasn't actually murder, it was petrification, but they assumed that Harry did it because he was at the scene of the crime, there was blood everywhere, and on the wall it said, "The Chamber of Secrets is opened, enemies of the heir, beware." Nobody really knows what happens, but every time Harry is somewhere, something bad happens, so they just assume it was him. And they start to all just act really crappy towards him, especially the Hufflepuffs. And they're supposed to be good people, but Hufflepuffs suck in this book. So they learn more about the Chamber of Secrets, which is apparently a secret room that holds a very evil monster that wants to kill everybody. And enemies of the heir of Slytherin is what they end up finding out, and they try to figure out who it is. They assume it's Draco, which means obviously it won't be Draco, because anytime they assume anything, they're stupid and wrong. They switch into Crabbe and Goyle and sneak into the Slytherin common room to try to get him to say something, and then he obviously doesn't know anything, so they fuck off. Eventually they find a secret diary ran by some dude named Tom Riddle. Tom Riddle was just some student at the school who was really good, and he was there when the original Chamber of Secrets was opened. He zaps Harry into the book to show him the past, and then what he sees is Hagrid opened the Chamber of Secrets, and apparently he was hiding the monster, but it turns out that's bullshit, and Tom Riddle's actually Voldemort, and he possessed Ginny Weasley to do his dirty work, and then Harry frees Dobby, who tried to murder him earlier in the story. Opinion time. This is actually one of my least favorite books in the series, because it's just sort of useless. Like, if you gloss over it, nothing really would happen. Eventually she made it matter in the last book, but I feel like that was more she felt weird about how little it mattered and then made it matter, as opposed to her planning it throughout the whole time like she claims she did. That isn't to say that it's boring or bad. I like the mystery, I like the twist ending with Jenny being the bad one, but like, I don't know, it just felt very unnecessary, and it sort of feels like a waste of time, but like, you can read it real quick, so it doesn't really matter. It's pleasant, it's dark, it's an overall decent time. Dobby is so annoying in this one, holy fuck. But like, it's not her best work, it's also not her worst work, we'll get to that soon. But claiming that it's all bad is kind of unnecessary. The Burrow was really nice. I liked the part where he was in Nocturne Alley and Diagon Alley. I liked when they were flying to the school. I liked the dueling club, that was funny. And the ending was sort of a decent reveal, but like, you could kind of tell that Tom Riddle was sketchy the whole time. And even though you can sort of tell that Riddle was supposed to be a bad guy, it's still sort of a nice reveal, and it reminds me a lot of something else that I'll get to in a completely different day at a completely different time. One thing I really did enjoy about this book, and basically every Harry Potter book, to be completely honest with you, is the fear of expulsion. Because the first time I read this series, I was also not necessarily afraid of getting expelled, I was just sort of expecting it because my attendance has always been awful and I always got into a lot of trouble for it. So while reading this, I was like, hey, I can relate to how Harry feels right now.
Favorite character?
My favorite character in this book is 120 billion trillion % Ron. He knew that Harry must have been in trouble just because he hasn't talked to him, and what does he do? He sneaks out with his brothers, stealing his dad's car, flying across the country to where Harry lives to try to bust him out. They bust him out, he gets in trouble for it, they go to school, they can't go to school because they fly into a brick wall, they take the car again, fly it to school. Ron is such a quick thinker, Ron is such a brave man, Ron is such a good friend, Ron is the MVP of Chamber of Secrets.
Favorite moment?
My favorite moment is when it ended. Okay. Fine, the Burrow.
Favorite quote?
Admirable sentiments, said Malfoy, bowing. Now what? So after finding out that Dobby was trying to kill him to protect him, well, not kill, only seriously maim, he decides to free Dobby by putting a sock in the diary and then giving it to Malfoy, and then Malfoy gives it to... It's a complicated mess, but overall, Dobby is free, and Dobby is forever indebted to Harry, even though Harry sort of wants no part in him. He goes back home, they have a good time. The next book, things start to go super south, but it's also like the second best book, the best book, one of the best stories ever written. So I'm excited to review that. Thanks for watching this. Like, subscribe, don't. Thanks Rita and Olivia for watching. Love you guys.